Imagine this for a moment. For the past 50 years, women have been shouting from every rooftop, every classroom, every courtroom, and every social media platform that men are obsolete, that they don't need a man, that a woman needs a man, like a fish needs a bicycle. They built an entire culture around the idea that the state would replace husbands, that government programs and corporate ladders and girl boss mantras would provide everything a man used to provide, while they could still keep the perks of male attention whenever it suited them. And men, being the reasonable problem solving creatures that we are, finally took them at their word. We stepped back, we walked away, we stopped approaching, stopped dating, stopped marrying, stopped caring. And now, right now, as inflation eats paychecks alive, as rent doubles overnight, as grocery bills look like car payments, women are waking up to a world where the state turned out to be a terrible husband, and the men they told to disappear actually listened. The question that should keep every single one of them up at night is simple. What happens when the people you spent half a century pushing away finally decide they are happier on the other side of the door you slammed in their faces? Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to show you exactly where this road ends. And trust me, it is not pretty for the people who spent decades burning the bridge they now desperately need to cross. If you want more raw, unfiltered, angry guy content that cuts through the noise and tells you the truth nobody else will say out loud, smash that like button right now. Share this video with every man you know who needs to hear it, and subscribe with notifications on so you never miss an upload. While you are down there, go check out Angry's Crypto Academy. If you are tired of watching your money disappear because of inflation and bad decisions, the Academy teaches you step by step how to buy, sell, trade, and most importantly, protect your wealth in the crypto space so the system can never take what you worked for. The link is in the description. Click it, join thousands of other men who are already building real security, and start taking control today. And if these videos are hitting home, if they are waking you up, or just giving you the energy to keep pushing forward, consider buying me a Red Bull through the link below. It keeps the lights on and the content coming. Every can helps more than you know. Let us talk about what actually happened, because this did not come out of nowhere. This was not some random temper tantrum by a few bitter guys on the internet. This was 50 years in the making, 50 years of being told in 1,000 different ways that your existence as a man is the problem. Think about the timeline. In the 1970s, it started with I don't need no man and no fault divorce laws that turned marriage into a wealth transfer program with men on the losing side. By the 1980s and 1990s, we had the Duluth model telling police that the man is always the aggressor, even when he is the one bleeding on the floor. The 2000s gave us the campus Title IX star chambers, where a man could lose everything because a woman changed her mind the morning after. The 2000s brought us Me Too, where accusation equaled guilt and careers were ended by tweets. And then the cherry on top, the endless social media campaigns about toxic masculinity, man spreading, mansplaining, man anything, where simply existing while male became a thought crime. Every single year, the message got louder. Men are defective. Men are dangerous. Men are unnecessary. Universities started admitting women at twice the rate of men because men were falling behind in a system that openly punished boys for being boys. Workplaces implemented hiring quotas that openly discriminated against men while calling it equity. Dating apps turned into slot machines where the average man gets zero matches while the top 5% of men get all the attention, and women still complain there were no good men left. Family courts kept perfecting the art of turning a man into a walking ATM with weekend visitation if he was lucky. And through all of it, the culture kept saying, just man up, just be better, just do more, just give more, because you owe us. And men, being the adaptable, solution oriented creatures we are, finally asked the one question nobody wanted us to ask: what if we just stop? What if we take you at your word? What if we really do go our own way? What if we stop fixing your car for free? Stop paying for your dinner. Stop Venmoing you rent money. Stop risking our lives in dangerous jobs to keep the lights on for a society that hates us. What if we simply opt out? So we did, quietly at first. A guy here cancels his dating apps. A guy there decides he is never getting married. Another guy realizes that peace and quiet in his own apartment beats drama and chaos every single day of the week. Then it snowballed. Millions of men started doing the math and realizing that the juice is not worth the squeeze, that the risk is infinite, and the reward is non existent. Men started working just enough to cover their own needs, not enough to support someone else's lifestyle. Men started lifting weights, reading books, traveling alone, building businesses, stacking crypto, and discovering something wild. Life is actually better when you are not constantly managing someone else's emotions and bank account. And now the receipts are coming in. Every day, there is another viral video of a woman in her late 20s or early 30s standing in her kitchen doing that TikTok cry voice, talking about how she makes $90,000 a year and still cannot afford to live, how dating is impossible, how men won't approach her anymore, how she goes out to the bar in an outfit that leaves nothing to the imagination and still goes home alone. Another video pops up with a woman demanding to know where all the good men went, as if the good men did not watch their fathers get destroyed in divorce court, as if they did not watch their brothers get expelled from college over false accusations, as if they did not watch their friends get ruined by child support for kids that DNA tests later proved were not even theirs. These women are genuinely confused. They spent years being told they were the prize, that they were the table, that men should be grateful for scraps of attention. They were told that men would always be there no matter what, because male desire is infinite and female standards are non negotiable. They built their entire worldview around the idea that men have no breaking point, that men will endure any level of disrespect, any level of exploitation, any level of legal and social punishment, because the promise of occasional intimacy is enough to keep us in line. And now they are finding out the hard way that men do have a breaking point. Men do learn, men do adapt. And once a man finds peace on the other side of walking away, there is no incentive strong enough to drag him back into the plantation. Look at the numbers because they do not lie. Marriage rates have collapsed to historic lows. In many Western countries, more than 40% of men under 30 have not had intimacy in the past year. Home ownership among young men is rising faster than among young women because men are not pairing up and buying houses with someone who can take half plus alimony tomorrow. Men are traveling more, starting businesses more, getting in the best shape of their lives, and reporting higher levels of happiness than at any point in decades. Meanwhile, antidepressant and anti anxiety prescriptions for women are through the roof. Therapist waiting lists are longer than ever. And the number one complaint therapists report from female clients is loneliness, despite these women having hundreds of Instagram followers and dating app matches. The irony is delicious. The same women who spent years saying, I don't need a man, are now discovering that while they may not need a specific man, they absolutely needed men as a group to keep the entire system running. Men do 80 to 90% of the dangerous jobs that keep society functioning. Men pay the majority of taxes while receiving the minority of government benefits. Men invented almost everything women now take for granted, from the electricity in their ring lights to the algorithms that make OnlyFans profitable. And when men collectively decide that they are done carrying water for a society that treats them like disposable utilities, the whole facade starts to crack. Women are now competing for a shrinking pool of high value men who have zero incentive to commit. The men who still play the game do it on their terms. Prenups, separate finances, tis, no cohabitation, no shared assets. The men who walked away completely are living like retired millionaires on $40,000 a year because their expenses are low and their peace is priceless. They wake up when they want, eat what they want, travel where they want, and answer to nobody. They have replaced the chaos of modern dating with the calm of solitude, and they are not coming back. And the best part, the more women panic, the more they demand that men return to save them, the more men realize they were right to leave. Every viral meltdown, every "where have all the good men gone" video, every article blaming men for not wanting to date single mothers with three different baby daddies just confirms that walking away was the correct decision. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. It is like watching someone who spent years telling you to get lost suddenly realize they need your help moving. And instead of helping, you just wave from your balcony while drinking a beer you paid for with money that used to be her allowance. The panic is spreading faster than anyone predicted. You can feel it in the air every time you scroll through social media. One day it is a 28-year-old marketing manager with a master's degree crying on camera because her rent just went up $400 and she has no idea how she's going to eat and pay her student loans at the same time. The next day, it is a 34-year-old influencer with a ring light and perfect makeup asking why men no longer offer to pay on the first date, as if the concept of a man willingly lighting his money on fire for a stranger died of natural causes rather than being murdered by 50 years of cultural messaging. Then you have the podcast, the endless parade of female led podcasts where the hosts spend 2 hours dissecting why men are not lining up to wife up women who openly brag about having body counts higher than a war zone and standards higher than the Burj Khalifa. They keep asking the same question in 100 different ways. Where did all the good men go? And the answer is always staring them right in the face, but they refuse to look at it. The good men did exactly what you spent half a century telling them to do. They left you alone. They stopped bothering you. They stopped approaching you at the gym, at the grocery store, at the bar, at work, on the street. They stopped sliding into DMs. They stopped asking for your number. They stopped planning elaborate first dates that cost $200 and end with a hug at the door. They stopped offering to pay your bills when you posted sad stories on Instagram. They stop caring whether you think they are tall enough, rich enough, funny enough, or emotionally available enough. They stop trying to earn your approval because they finally realized your approval was never actually based on merit. It was always a trap. The moment they gave you everything you demanded, the goalposts moved again. So they stopped running. And now the silence is deafening. Women spent years training men that any unsolicited attention was harassment, that looking too long was creepy, that speaking first was a violation of boundaries, that offering to buy a drink was predatory. So men learned the lesson perfectly. They now treat women the way women insisted they wanted to be treated, as complete strangers who owe them nothing and deserve nothing from them. And suddenly, that is a crisis. Suddenly, the absence of male attention is the greatest emergency of our time. Suddenly, the same women who used to brag about blocking 200 men a day are complaining that nobody even looks at them anymore. The same women who used to say, "My DMs are a war zone," are now saying, "My phone is drier than the Sahara." The same women who used to post, "I don't chase, I attract," are now chasing men who have zero interest in being caught. Let us be crystal clear about something. This is not about a few bitter men hiding in their basements. This is millions upon millions of regular, normal, decent men from every walk of life making the same rational decision at the same time. Blue collar men, white collar men, tradesmen, engineers, entrepreneurs, soldiers, students, fathers, grandfathers, young guys just starting out, older guys who already lost everything once and swore never again. They come from every race, every religion, every political background. The one thing they all have in common is that they looked at the world that was offered to them and said, no, thank you. They looked at the risks, the legal exposure, the financial devastation, the social ostracism, the constant criticism, the never ending demands, and they decided that peace is cheaper than participation. Think about what the average man is actually giving up when he walks away. He is not giving up some fairy tale romance. He is giving up the privilege of working 60 hours a week to pay for a woman's lifestyle while she works part time or not at all. He is giving up the joy of coming home to a house where every conversation is a potential landmine. He is giving up the opportunity to have his children turned against him in a custody battle because a judge decided that his ex wife's new boyfriend is a more stable influence than their actual father. He is giving up the chance to be accused of something years after the fact and watch his entire life collapse because belief is now considered evidence. He is giving up the daily experience of being told that his natural instincts, his sexuality, his humor, his very presence is toxic and needs to be fixed or eliminated. What he is getting in return is priceless. He wakes up in the morning and the only person he has to please is himself. He eats what he wants, watches what he wants, spends his money on what he wants. He goes to the gym without worrying that some woman is going to film him and call him a creep for existing in public while male. He travels the world on a budget that would have barely covered date nights back in the old days. He builds businesses, stacks investments, learns new skills, makes male friends who actually have his back instead of competing with him for female attention. He rediscovers hobbies he abandoned because some girlfriend said they were childish. He reads books, lifts heavier weights, sleeps better, stresses less, and smiles more. For the first time in his life, he experiences what actual freedom feels like. And the women who spent decades telling men they were not needed are now discovering exactly how much they actually were needed. Not needed as individuals, mind you. No single man is irreplaceable. That part was always true. But men as a group, men as the backbone of civilization, men as the ones who build, maintain, defend, and pay for everything, that part was a fantasy they could not afford to believe. They thought the state would pick up the tab forever. They thought government checks and corporate jobs and girl power slogans would replace husbands and fathers. They thought they could shame and punish and extract from men indefinitely without any consequences. They thought male thirst was an infinite resource that could never be depleted no matter how much contempt they poured on it. Reality is a harsh teacher. Inflation does not care about your gender studies degree. Rent does not care about your follower count. The electric company does not accept exposure as payment. And the men who used to quietly cover the difference when times got tough are no longer quietly covering anything. They are buying land in the countryside, converting vans into mobile homes, moving to lower cost countries, working remote jobs from beaches, and living better on half the income because they no longer have to support someone who thinks supporting them is their birthright. They are not hiding. They are not broken. They are not lost. They are thriving in ways most people cannot even imagine because they removed the single biggest source of stress and expense from their lives: modern women. Every day, another article comes out trying to diagnose the problem. They call it the loneliness epidemic. They call it a crisis of masculinity. They call it incels or Andrew Tate or porn or video games or toxic masculinity or 100 other scapegoats that let them avoid the mirror. They refuse to admit the simple truth that men are not broken. The system that was built to exploit them is broken, and men simply refuse to continue being the fuel. They are not lonely. They are solitary by choice, and there is a massive difference. Loneliness is pain, solitude is peace. And millions of men have chosen peace over the pain of participation in a game that was designed for them to lose. The coping mechanisms are getting more desperate by the week. First, it was denial. Then it was anger, the endless shaming videos calling men cowards, losers, immature, afraid of strong women. Then it was bargaining, the sudden flood of content about how traditional gender roles are actually good when inflation is high, how men should man up and provide, how women are willing to submit if the right man just steps up. Now we are deep into depression territory. The crying videos, the therapy speak confessions, the admissions that maybe, just maybe, they went too far. And soon, very soon, we will hit acceptance. Acceptance that the world they demanded has arrived, and it is colder and harder and lonelier than they ever imagined. But by the time most of them reach acceptance, it will be far too late. The men who walked away are not waiting on the sidelines, hoping for an apology. They are not paused in some state of suspended animation, ready to hit rewind the moment women change their minds. They are gone. They have built new lives that have no room for the chaos and entitlement they left behind. They have new routines, new priorities, new sources of joy that do not involve managing female emotions or bankrolling female lifestyles. They have discovered that the love and respect they were told only a woman could provide was always inside them, waiting to be given to themselves. And the funniest part of all, the more women scream that men need to come back and save them, the more men realize they never needed saving in the first place. They were told they were broken for 50 years and finally believed it enough to fix themselves by removing the source of the breakage. They were told they were toxic and finally agreed enough to quarantine themselves from the people calling them toxic. They were told they were not needed and finally took that as permission to stop showing up where they were not wanted. This is not revenge. This is not punishment. This is cause and effect. This is the natural consequence of telling an entire gender for 2 generations that their presence is a problem and their sacrifices are expected. You told men to go away. They went. You told men you did not need them. They believed you. You told men their value was only in what they could provide. They stopped providing, and now the bill is coming due, and there is no man left to pay it. The collapse is not coming. It is already here, and it is happening in slow motion, one rent payment at a time, one empty bar stool at a time, one lonely Saturday night at a time. Women are starting to feel the full weight of what it actually means to live in the world they demanded. No more default male attention. No more orbiters sending good morning texts. No more random guys offering to carry heavy things or fix broken things or pay for overpriced cocktails. No more safety net of male competence quietly holding everything together behind the scenes. The trades are short thousands of workers because the boys who used to go into plumbing and electrical and construction were told those jobs were low status and sexist. The tech companies that women flock to for 6-figure remote jobs are laying people off by the tens of thousands. The government programs that were supposed to replace husbands are drowning in debt and cutting benefits. And the men who used to fill all those gaps have quietly exited stage left, taking their labor, their money, their attention, and their willingness to care with them. You can watch it play out in real time on any street in any major city. Walk into a nice bar on a Friday night. 10 years ago, it would have been packed with men in suits, buying rounds, competing for attention, trying to impress women they barely knew. Now, half the tables are groups of women staring at their phones, waiting for something to happen that never does. The men who still show up are either the top tier guys who can have whoever they want on their terms, or they are the ones who learn to bring their own male friends and ignore the rest of the room completely. The average guy simply does not bother anymore. Why would he? He can have a better night at home with a $12 bottle of whiskey, a PlayStation, and zero chance of a false accusation. The dating statistics are brutal and getting worse. In 2024, surveys showed that 63% of men under 30 were single, compared to only 34% of women the same age. That gap is not because women are all in relationships with each other. It is because one man at the top is dating multiple women while the rest get nothing. The bottom 80% of men have been completely priced out of the market, not by money, but by the ever rising expectations and ever lowering returns. Women keep saying they want a man who is taller, richer, fitter, funnier, more emotionally intelligent, and more successful than 95% of men, and then act shocked when the remaining 5% are not lining up to commit to someone with 3 kids from 3 different fathers and a list of red flags longer than a CVS receipt. Meanwhile, the men who opted out are living better than ever. A guy making $60,000 a year used to be broke after child support, alimony, and keeping a girlfriend happy. Now that same 60,000 buys him a paid-off truck, a small house in a low-cost state, annual trips to Thailand or Colombia, a fully equipped home gym, and enough crypto stacked to retire at 45. He eats ribeyes on Tuesday because he feels like it. He sleeps diagonally across a king-size bed with no one stealing the covers. He wakes up on weekends and the only decision he has to make is whether to hit the golf course or the fishing lake. That is not poverty. That is the kind of life previous generations thought you needed millions to achieve. Women are now doing the math themselves and realizing the nightmare they built. A woman earning $80,000 a year in a city like Los Angeles or New York is effectively poor once rent, student loans, health insurance, and basic living expenses are covered. 10 years ago, she could have found a man earning 120,000 who was happy to combine incomes and subsidize her lifestyle. Today that same man is either A, dating much younger women who do not have the baggage, B, refusing to cohabitate or marry because he already saw his dad or his buddy get destroyed, or C, completely off the market, living in a mountain town with a dog and a dirt bike. She is left holding the bag, wondering why her master's degree and corporate job did not come with the husband and house and security she was promised. The coping is reaching levels of comedy that should be studied by future historians. You have women in their mid 30s suddenly discovering the joys of traditional values and posting Bible verses about being a submissive wife, as if men cannot see the follower count and the OnlyFans link in the bio. You have dating coaches charging thousands of dollars to teach women how to reclaim their feminine energy after spending a decade teaching them the exact opposite. You have entire podcasts dedicated to explaining why men should not care that a woman slept with half the city before settling down, because the past is the past, and you cannot punish her for having fun in her 20s. The mental gymnastics are Olympic gold medal level, and still, the message from men remains the same. No thank you, politely, firmly, permanently. The door is closed, the bridge is burned, the ship has sailed. Pick whatever metaphor you want. The outcome is identical. Men are not negotiating with themselves anymore. They are not lowering their standards to make someone else comfortable. They are not returning to a burning building just because the people who set the fire are now complaining about the smoke. Peace is not negotiable. Freedom is not for sale. Happiness found in solitude is not something you trade away because someone else is having a hard time. The most telling part is how the goalposts keep moving in real time. First, it was, we don't need men, we just want equality. Then it was, okay, we need men to pay for dates and protect us, but nothing else. Then it was, fine, we need men to marry us and pay most of the bills, but we still get to keep our independence. Now it is down to please somebody, anybody, just pay attention to us again. We promise we will not call the police this time. Every concession is another admission that the original premise was a fantasy. Every step back is proof that men were never the problem. The problem was always the belief that men could be exploited forever without pushing back. And push back they have. Not with anger, not with violence, not with protests or demands or manifestos. Just quiet, relentless, unstoppable withdrawal. The most powerful revolution in human history is being fought with silence and absence. Men are voting with their feet, their wallets, their attention, and their reproductive choices. They are refusing to participate in their own exploitation. And there is no law you can pass, no shaming campaign you can launch, no viral hashtag that can force a man to care when he has discovered he is happier not caring. This is the part where the story gets brutal for the people who spent 50 years telling men to disappear. Nature does not care about your feelings. Economics does not care about your victim narrative. Biology does not negotiate. A society that stops producing stable families collapses within a generation. A civilization that stops incentivizing men to build and protect stops being a civilization pretty quickly. Rome did not fall because of barbarians at the gates. It fell because Roman men stopped thinking it was worth defending. The same pattern repeats everywhere, every time, without exception. We are watching the early stages of that collapse right now. Birth rates in the West are below replacement levels and still falling. The most educated women are the least likely to have children. The institutions that rely on male labor and male taxes are starting to creak and groan under the weight of too many dependents and too few producers. The military cannot meet recruiting goals because young men see no reason to die for a country that teaches them they are the root of all evil. Police departments are short staffed. Infrastructure is crumbling, and every year another cohort of boys grows up watching what happened to their fathers and grandfathers and decides rationally that signing up for that fate would be insane. Women are now competing in a sexual marketplace where the supply of desirable men has shrunk to historic lows and the demand from those men for commitment has shrunk to zero. The few high value men who still participate do so from abundance, never scarcity. They date multiple women, refuse to commit, keep finances separate, and walk away the moment drama appears. The rest of the men have simply removed themselves from the equation entirely. The result is a growing population of women in their 30s and 40s who are financially strained, emotionally exhausted, and biologically running out of time, wondering why the future they were promised never arrived. And the men are fishing. They are lifting. They are building businesses. They are riding motorcycles through mountain passes. They are drinking beer on patios with other men who understand the assignment. They are sleeping 8 hours a night without someone nagging them about chores or emotions or whose turn it is to take out the trash. They are living the kind of calm, purposeful, self directed lives that previous generations only dreamed about in retirement. The most surreal part of all this is watching the narrative flip in real time and realizing nobody is buying it anymore. 5 years ago, if a woman went on a podcast and said men just need to step up and be providers again, every blue pill guy in the comments would have been falling over himself to agree, promising to work harder, earn more, and rescue the princess. Today, the top comment on those same videos is some variation of cool story. I'm busy stacking Bitcoin and deadlifting 500 pounds. Good luck with the cat food budget in 2035. The spell is broken. The illusion is shattered. The matrix has glitched so hard that even the people who built it cannot get the NPCs to keep pretending. Women spent decades telling men, your value is your wallet, your muscles, your willingness to die for us, and nothing else. They turned dating into an audition where men had to bring height, income, emotional labor, endless patience, and perfect future faking just to earn the privilege of paying for dinner and maybe getting a second date. They bragged about it openly. They made entire reality TV empires out of watching men compete for their approval while they gave nothing in return but attitude and a list of demands. And men, being logical creatures who respond to incentives, finally did the math and realized the audition was never for a relationship. It was for a subscription plan with no cancellation policy and lifetime alimony attached. So the men stopped auditioning. They took the height, the income, the muscles, the emotional labor, the patience, and they invested it all in the one person who actually appreciates it themselves. They turned the energy they used to spend chasing women into building bodies, bank accounts, brotherhoods, and unbreakable peace of mind. And the result is the calmest, strongest, wealthiest, most self possessed generation of regular men in living memory. They are not rich by billionaire standards, but they are rich by freedom standards. They own their time, they own their attention, they own their future, and nobody can take that away with a text message or a court order. You see it in the way they move through the world now. There is a quiet confidence that was never there before. They walk into a room and they do not scan for female approval. They do not adjust their posture or suck in their stomach or try to make themselves bigger or smaller depending on who is watching. They just exist calmly, comfortably, unapologetically. They speak when they have something to say and stay silent when they do not. They laugh at their own jokes and do not care if anyone else laughs. They pay for their own drinks and tip well because it is the right thing to do, not because they are trying to buy attention. They are the physical embodiment of the phrase, I am enough. And it terrifies people who spent their whole lives believing men only had value when they were useful to someone else. Women feel it the second one of these men walks past them. It is not arrogance. It is not ego. It is the complete absence of need. There is no hunger in his eyes, no desperation in his voice, no subtle lean in looking for validation. He is not trying to impress anyone because he is already impressed with himself. He has seen behind the curtain. He knows the game is rigged. He knows the script by heart. And instead of begging for a better role, he simply left the theater and built his own stage where the only audience he performs for is the man in the mirror. That energy is lethal to a culture built on male thirst. When a critical mass of men stop caring whether women like them, the entire social operating system crashes. Fashion brands that catered to male attention start closing stores. Dating apps hemorrhage male users and watch their stock prices collapse. Nightclubs that used to be packed with guys buying bottle service to impress tables full of women are now half empty on Saturday nights. Cosmetic companies that made billions convincing women they needed to be perfect to deserve love are suddenly scrambling to sell self love serums because the old marketing does not work when the target demographic has stopped looking. Even the government is starting to panic. Politicians who spent years passing laws that made family life a legal minefield for men are now giving speeches about the crisis of fatherlessness and wondering why men are not lining up to get married and pay taxes into a system that treats them like criminals from day one. Economists are writing papers about the coming demographic collapse and proposing everything from tax credits to government sponsored dating apps to try to trick men into coming back. None of it will work. You cannot shame a man into slavery once he has tasted freedom. You cannot threaten a man into commitment once he has seen his friends destroyed. You cannot bribe a man into caring once he has discovered he is happier not caring. The passport bro phenomenon is just the beginning. Millions of men are waking up to the fact that the same money that buys a cramped studio apartment and constant drama in a Western city buys a beachfront villa and peaceful relationships in other parts of the world. They are learning languages, getting remote jobs, building online businesses, and quietly relocating to places where their labor and presence are still valued. They are not running away, they are walking towards something better. And every time another man lands in Medellin or Bangkok or Eastern Europe and posts a picture of his new life, another 10,000 men start researching visas. Back home, the women who spent their 20s riding the carousel and their early 30s chasing corporate promotions are hitting the wall at 90 miles an hour. They are discovering that the strong independent script only works when someone else is quietly paying the bills behind the scenes. They are discovering that student loans do not care about your pronouns. Credit card debt does not care about your body count positivity. Inflation does not care about your girl boss affirmations. And the men who used to be shamed into covering the difference are now using that money to buy land, lift heavier, and sleep better. The loneliness is starting to hit different now. It is not the cute, temporary loneliness of waiting for Prince Charming. It is the permanent, structural loneliness of realizing you priced yourself out of the only market that ever actually wanted you. It is the loneliness of scrolling through Instagram and seeing the men you rejected 10 years ago living better lives without you than they ever could have with you. It is the loneliness of going to yet another Galentine's brunch where everyone is pretending to be happy while secretly calculating how many more years of fertility they have left and how much more debt they can take on to freeze their eggs. Therapists are making bank. Antidepressant prescriptions for women aged 25 to 44 have skyrocketed. Wine sales are through the roof. Cat and dog rescues cannot keep up with demand from single women looking for something, anything to fill the void. And still, the answer from men remains the same: not my circus, not my monkeys. The empathy well has run dry. The benefit of the doubt has been revoked. The second chances have all been used up on women who never offered first chances to the men they destroyed. And the craziest part is that men are not even angry anymore. That is what people keep missing. This is not rage. This is relief. This is the deep soul level exhale of finally putting down a weight you carried for decades because someone told you it was your job. Men are not sitting around plotting revenge. They are at the gun range with their friends. They are on fishing boats at sunrise. They are in jujitsu classes rolling with other men who respect them. They are in garages building classic cars. They are in home gyms adding another plate. They are in coffee shops reading books that actually make them better. They are living. The anger was real once. The pain was real. The betrayal was real. But once a man processes that pain, once he goes through the fire and comes out the other side, something changes permanently. The need for female validation dies. The fear of being alone dies. The desire to prove himself to people who never cared dies. And in its place grows something unbreakable: self respect. The kind of self respect that does not negotiate, the kind that does not apologize for existing, the kind that looks at a burning building and keeps walking because he already learned the hard way that running in to save people who keep lighting matches is a good way to die, poor and unappreciated. The future is already written, and it is quieter than anyone wants to admit. By 2030, most Western cities will have neighborhoods where the only people under 40 you see on Friday nights are groups of men eating steak, lifting in private gyms, or playing high stakes poker with crypto on the table. The bars and clubs that used to survive on male thirst will be converted into co working spaces, cat cafes, or just empty storefronts with for lease signs gathering dust. The dating apps will be ghost towns, except for the top 5% of men and the women still hoping to catch them. Marriage rates will keep free falling until the government has to bribe people with tax credits and free housing just to get a few thousand couples a year to sign the paperwork. Birth rates will stay below 1.4, and the economy will slowly choke as the taxpayer base shrinks while the dependent class grows. The women who spent their prime years being told they could have it all will hit 45 and realize all meant a 600 square foot apartment, a rescue dog with anxiety issues, a job they hate, and a retirement account that might buy them 15 years of cat food if they're lucky. The ones who followed the girl boss script hardest will be the loneliest because they were the loudest about not needing men, the most ruthless in divorce courts, the most brutal on social media toward any man who didn't meet their checklist. They will be the ones making hour-long apology videos that get 400 views and 3,000 dislikes from men who stopped caring years ago. The passport bros will keep multiplying. Entire online communities already exist teaching men how to retire at 38 to places where doctors, dentists, cooks, and girlfriends all cost less than 1 month of child support back home. A man making $70,000 a year remotely is upper class in half the world. He dates women who cook for him, smile when he walks in the door, and do not have an Instagram account dedicated to shaming exes. He wakes up to ocean views instead of court dates. He has children, if he wants them, on his terms, with a woman who sees him as a prize instead of a utility. And every time he posts a picture of that life, another 100,000 men start learning Spanish or Thai or Polish. Back in the West, the remaining high value men who stay will operate like private equity firms. They will date rotationally, never cohabitate, never commingle finances, and always have ironclad prenups or just refuse marriage completely. They will have children only with women under 28 who bring peace, beauty, and loyalty to the table because they can. The rest of the women will be left negotiating with men who have nothing to lose and everything already in place to walk away the second the mask slips. The power dynamic has inverted so completely that even mentioning where have all the good men gone now gets you laughed out of every male space on the internet. The government will try everything. They will float ideas like male participation taxes or mandatory dating profiles for single men. They will offer six-figure bonuses to any man willing to marry a single mother over 35. They will create PSAs telling men it is their patriotic duty to wife up the women who spent a decade calling them trash. Every attempt will fail spectacularly because you cannot force a man who has tasted freedom to volunteer for slavery. The harder they push, the faster men will leave, either geographically or by simply dropping out of the taxable economy altogether. Cash businesses, crypto, barter networks, and off grid compounds will become the new underground railroad for male liberty. The trad thoughts and born again virgins will keep multiplying too. You already see them 29, 30, 31, suddenly wearing ankle length dresses and quoting Proverbs 31 while conveniently forgetting the 2016 to 2022 Instagram archive full of club photos and middle fingers. They will flood the few remaining traditional spaces looking for the one man in 100 who still believes in the old script. Most of them will be ignored. The men who spent years learning female nature do not unlearn it because a woman learned how to bake sourdough and say submission in a soft voice. The mask might be prettier now, but the pattern recognition is permanent. The smartest women, the ones paying attention right now, are already adapting. They are the ones in their early 20s who watched their older sisters and aunts hit the wall and decided to opt out of the girl boss delusion before it was too late. They are learning to cook, staying fit, keeping their body counts in the single digits, and approaching high value men directly with respect and femininity instead of entitlement. They are the ones who will still have options in 10 years. The rest will be competing for the scraps left by men who never wanted them in the first place. And the men who walked away, they will keep walking. They will keep building. They will keep lifting, stacking, traveling, laughing, and living lives so peaceful and abundant that future historians will study this period the way we study monks leaving the decaying Roman Empire to build monasteries in the wilderness. Except these monks have Wi Fi, deadlifts, and passports. They are not hiding from the collapse, they are transcending it. They are the first generation of men in centuries who looked at the social contract, read the fine print, and politely declined to sign. Years from now, when the dust settles and the birth rate graphs look like a heart attack on paper, people will ask how it all happened. The answer will be simple. Women told men they were not needed. Men believed them. Women told men to go away. Men went. Women spent 50 years breaking the male spirit and then acted shocked when the male spirit refused to be reassembled for their convenience. They wanted a world without men in it. They got their wish. And now they get to live in it. The best part, the part that still makes me smile every single day, is that men are not coming back. Not ever. There is no price high enough, no apology sincere enough, no promise sweet enough to make a man trade his peace for chaos again. Once a man has carried his own couch up 3 flights of stairs by himself, eaten steak he paid for with money he earned, and fallen asleep in a bed that belongs only to him, there is no going back to letting someone else dictate his temperature, his finances, and his future. Freedom is addictive. Peace is priceless. And millions of men have both now. So, to every guy watching this who is still on the fence, still wondering if maybe he should give it one more try, still thinking the right woman will make it all worth it, let me save you years of pain and tens of thousands of dollars. She does not exist. The game is not designed to be won, it is designed to keep you running on the treadmill forever. Step off, walk away. The other side is everything they told you it would be and more. Your peace is waiting. Your freedom is waiting. Your life is waiting. All you have to do is stop negotiating with people who never negotiated with you. What did you think about what we just went through? Do you agree? Do you see it playing out in your own city, your own friend group, your own family? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Like the video if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.